Are you still out there riding the pine and coming up with excuses not to take up backpacking? Today we're going to go through the top 10 excuses we're all using not to do it. Most of these, truth be told, it's all based off misconception and just lack of education. So hopefully we can go through today and dispel all these, get you guys out there on the trail. Stick around. Number one on our list, this is the one I hear the most. I am not fit enough to take up backpacking. It's a little bit of a misconception that you've got to be in some kind of peak physical fitness to go out on the trail and enjoy the hobby. Absolutely not. You can tailor your outing based on your own fitness level and what you're comfortable with. You know, getting out, we average per hour of hiking somewhere between 400 and 700 calories burned. Start with shorter hikes. Ease your way into it, building up to those. A backpacking trip doesn't have to be something where you're hiking 20 miles in the course of a day and then 20 miles back the next. You know, they can be shorter durations. Getting out on the trail, getting into it, as your body gets acclimated toward moving around and carrying a little bit of a load on the back, it does get considerably easier. Start on some short outings and then build up to those longer runs. But just getting out there is the first step. Just had a milestone birthday myself, so this next one is near and dear to my heart. I am too old to start backpacking. Now, while it is true that if you start younger, obviously it's easier to keep your body in trail shape, that does not mean that you can't build into it later on in life. There's actually a handful of YouTube content creators out there that I like watching, that inspire me. They've got a few years on me. One of them is a good friend of mine, the Wandering Graybeard. I'll throw links to all these guys' channels down below. There's another one out there that's the Hiking Rev. This gentleman takes some really long, lengthy trips and does some really good work on his channel. And another one is AK Wild One. You go out there and check these guys out. They're putting out really good content, and they're older hikers, and it's really inspiring to watch those guys go out and do it. Gives me hope that later on in life I too can continue to do this. Just having a few miles on your body doesn't rule you out. I know I drag around and got minus a meniscus on one side. I've got a plate and an ankle on the other side, and an arthritic knee that I broke. We can all still get on the trail and get moving around. Honestly, the more I move around the trail, the better off I feel. So get out there, even though we might have a few years behind us, get out there, start moving around, and you're probably going to find out that you feel a lot better after having done it than you thought you would be before. This next one's a twofer. I don't have the right gear to take up backpacking, or it's too expensive to get the right gear. First, there is no right or wrong gear on backpacking. As long as you've covered the basics, there's not a right or wrong answer. There's what's right for you in your situation, and there's everything else. The biggest deal is just getting out there, get the basic stuff covered, and then get outside. You can borrow gear. You can go out onto Craigslist, or the Facebook Marketplace is full of people who decided to jump on the hobby, got out there and didn't enjoy it, and they're unloading their gears. Or the REI garage sale sections. All those areas are full of delusions of grandeur of I'm going to take up this hobby, and then got out there and did not like it, did not enjoy it. You can pick that stuff up super cheap. You don't have to have top of the line gear to get outside. You can easily start with what you have, maybe pick up a couple pieces that you're missing, and then as you get into the hobby and decide that, yeah, this is something I really enjoy and I'm going to keep doing, to then slowly start replacing the items that you have that maybe you could kind of upgrade here and there over a period of time. That's really what I did with it. I started with what I had and just sort of developed it out from there. Like I said, there's a plethora of places out there that you can pick up really good quality used stuff. And then at the same time, you can kind of backfill in, and most people, especially if you're going with someone, most of us out there have got multiple pieces of certain types of gear that we're more than happy to loan out if it means all of a sudden you've got a buddy to go out there and start hiking and backpacking with. It's too dangerous to take up backpacking. Now, while there are dangers out there, whether it's wildlife or it's terrain or it's weather, all of that stuff, one, it's a bit exaggerated, and with some proper planning and a little bit of education, you can absolutely mitigate the vast majority of this risk. Can you get rid of all of it? Absolutely not. There are always things that can happen, but there are ways that you can plan your way around it and help mitigate any of the unforeseen circumstances that might pop up. So on this subject, I'm going to throw a link to a video down in the description below that is the top 10 tips for a successful solo backpacking outing. Go through, because we literally go item by item and try to dispel all those myths about things that just sort of is the normal concern factors for safety when we're out there, whether it be wildlife or whether it be weather or getting lost and all of that fun stuff. Go ahead and check that one out. That'll be a good one for you. I'm afraid of getting lost. While it is absolutely possible to get turned around out on the trail, by and large, that's a relatively low occurrence. It's technologies like GPS, whether it's built in your phone or it's a standalone system, fun things like security beacons, remote personal locator beacons, all that stuff can quickly give us a sense of comfort that we may not have had otherwise. Start on a really well-marked trail, even one that is high activity with lots of people on there, so you have additional assistance around you if you need to, and sort of ease your way into it. I know with the more recent versions of the iPhone, you can go through, they have security paging out for satellite paging if you don't have a cell phone signal, if you get into an emergency situation. And I'm pretty sure with the iOS 18, now they are releasing satellite texting, so it's making it even harder for you to lose communication with people. But then also don't discredit learning to use a good old-fashioned compass and map. Those things the battery never dies in, and quite honestly, they're kind of fun. I really don't know where to go. Honestly, that's just a cop-out. There are countless resources out there, whether it is All Trails or some of the other apps that are out there that are completely free to use. Now, you do pay a fee to download the maps and fun stuff like that on that particular one. But there's a host of apps out there that will point you toward trails regardless of your location. Some are better than others. Some have got pros, cons that others may or may not have. Find the one that's right for you. It's a plethora of trails options out there, not to mention typical sort of social media online forums. There's a backpacking and hiking group for about every nook and cranny of the planet, and even you could roll out to fun places like REI and things like that and pick up organized hikes. We do them here at Hike-ALOT. We'll take small groups out on ventures, and there's a lot of areas and options out there. Just go out and find the one that's in your area. I'm afraid of wild animals. Honestly, as long as you leave them alone and keep distance, the vast majority of animals out there are going to do the exact same thing and stay away from you. They don't see us as being on the menu, so predominantly, especially if we're making noise, you're probably not going to see nearly as many as you think you would. I don't want to go out and suddenly decide I'm going to go take selfies with this animal. This little fluffy cow looks really awesome and it's a bison, and I get ran over. Keep the rule of thumb. Arm's reach, put your thumb out, and if you can cover the animal up, then you are probably close enough. If you start getting too close to them, obviously you're putting yourself in danger's way. But realistically, the incidence of animal attacks and stuff is significantly lower than what most people think. I worry more about the two-legged animals out there than I do the four-legged ones. I'm really not a camper. Now that one, this one's a little bit harder to contend with. Realistically, you can make your outing as comfortable as you want to on the trail. It does involve carrying more stuff. You can go from camping to glamping, or you can go from something a little more primitive where you're carrying significantly less gear and you're enjoying the uncomfortableness of it. You do definitely have to understand that this is not staying in a cabin. This is not staying in a hotel somewhere. It's not going to be a luxury resort. But once you can wrap your head around the fact that that's the beauty of it all, being in nature and enjoying it all and living with it instead of fighting against it, it all gets significantly more enjoyable. So I don't have enough time for backpacking. Now, this is honestly the one that I struggle with the most. I would love to be able to go out and take 6 months off and go hike the Appalachian Trail and all of that fun stuff. I applaud the people who are doing it. I do not have the luxury of being able to do that. Too many responsibilities, too many irons in the fire, a career that would probably leave me behind if I tried to take half of a year off and go traipse off through the woods, saving that one for a retirement trip, hopefully. But it doesn't mean you can't go into and take up the hobby of backpacking. Lots of little mini trips, do those long weekends here and there, the 3-4 day weekends, sneak out a trip. You don't have to go hike 100 or 200 or 1,000 miles for it to be backpacking. It's perfectly fine for you to go out and hike a 10-mile trail, hike in 5 miles, sleep, hike back out the next day. You can do it in a weekend. It's still thoroughly enjoyable. It's still definitely worth the effort. Okay, so all in all, the hobby is well worth adopting. The benefits, whether they be physical or mental or spiritual or abounding, they outweigh the cost and the headache of getting into it. I actually thoroughly enjoy the planning phase of it and getting ready and then being out there. Really from the beginning to the end, I enjoy the whole process. Once we wrap our heads around the fact that we're not competing with Mother Nature, but we're out there really fellowshipping in nature, it all gets far more fulfilling and can be something that's rewarding for the rest of your life. I know even when I'm not out there, it's fun to kind of relive and flip through pictures and videos of trips and recalling stuff that went on, and kind of inspires you to move on to the next trail and the next hike that's out there down the road. Just jump into the hobby, quit with excuses, give it a whirl, and you might find out that you found a new hobby that you didn't know you were going to enjoy, that's going to be with you for a lifetime. So as always with my videos, if you're out on the trail watching this right now, one, if so, that is awesome. You probably didn't make it to the end of this one if you did. But if so, just remember, left foot, right foot, repeat. We'll see you out there soon.